What the heck? Oh, what the heck? All right, y'all, we're back. We're back up in the building. I don't know if I'm gonna get those two people back. You know, they're probably very busy and stuff like that. I don't take that for granted. Okay. But in the last live stream, we had to cut it off because I was getting a phone call in and I didn't want to be rude, so I called it right back. I think we got it all situated. Meanwhile, I'm about one buzzball deep. All right, about to light up this black and mild. No, I don't suggest anybody start smoking. Like, I don't endorse it necessarily. I also don't condemn it as well. You know, people do what they gotta do. All right, and it's nice to have like maybe half a cigar with your buzz balls. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of y'all know what I'm saying out there. All right, we got one live one in the viewing area. I don't even know what you call it. All right, the place where people are at, and they're also with me, and I appreciate it. Shout out to that person. Um, as you might could already tell, this broadcast is going to be something of a free for all. I don't know how long it's going to last. Maybe the bulk of 5 more minutes. Who's to say? All right. We're flying by the seat of our pants around here, all right? We don't exactly know what we're doing. Um, but we're just having a little bit of fun out here. There's no big deal. And as I mentioned before, we're kind of prepping for tomorrow's broadcast. And as I mentioned before, it's not really any need for that, anyways, as far as prep, as far as material. We got way more material than we'd ever need, all right? But in the meantime, I thought I'd get together with one of y'all stragglers, maybe one or two of y'all, and see what exactly y'all might suggest for tomorrow for the broadcast, because Lord knows y'all have some insights that blow my mind sometimes, right? And really come from left field. And when I say that the contributors, the dear contributors to this channel, when I say that y'all are on something else, dude, y'all are on something else. Y'all stay on point, and I appreciate it. Y'all giving me some feedback of world class proportions. I'm not just hyping y'all up, I'm not just gassing y'all up. Lots of times, y'all tell me some stuff that I had absolutely no clue of. Speaking of, I guess, wild stuff in which a lot of people don't have a clue of, we left the first broadcast talking about this Colorado daycare. And we're not going to go into too much detail because I discussed what little details I know in a video that I posted up on this channel earlier today. All right, so if you wanted to check it out, if you're not already familiar with it, you can check that out. But suffice it to say that this particular Colorado daycare situation, false wall, hiding children in a basement. All right, either it is fake, and it could very well be, because all the publications that spoke about it, to include CNN, people, these local news, whatever, Fox, and whoever else, who even cares, right? CNN, Fox News, KMOV, whoever that is. You got Fox News again, and I saw MSN was covering it. They were copying and pasting like they always do. This situation, either it's fake news and they're just all copying and pasting it like they typically do, or it's an actual real story and they messed up and they brought it up. They're hoping that they can bring it up and just not even ever talk about it again. Meanwhile, where do these children come from? Don't nobody know. They don't even have a clue. For some reason, thing is, like I said, if this is a real story, then it really is wild, and it's a lot more severe than the news would ever dare want to tell you, right? Of course, it would not be a national story, but however, if it is a real news story, it's going to involve the extreme abuse and neglect and perhaps kidnapping of all sorted children, perhaps from across the border. Believe it or not, all right. For everybody who thinks, oh yeah, borders, we need to live in a world without borders, man. Yeah, you want to live in a world that's full of kidnapping and all sort of child abuse. Unfortunately, and I'm not speaking to those who actually come to this channel for the most part because I get the feeling y'all kind of already understand what I'm saying. But to those out there who might not understand that the world is wild, yeah, wild things happen from time to time. All right. But I just thought we'd talk about that for a second, and also take a little bit of time out to kind of brainstorm, to kind of think about what it is that we might cover tomorrow on the broadcast. Like I said, I have plenty of things in mind right now off the top of my head. I can't really think of anything necessarily. It's one of those things like if you put it on point, I got to write it down, and that's what I haven't done yet. All right, it's for the broadcast tomorrow, so I haven't written anything down, but I got a whiteboard right here. I know that you can't see me, all right, but I trust that I have a whiteboard around here and I'm writing on it right now, all right, for different various suggestions. If you're out there and if you had some suggestions for tomorrow's broadcast, feel free. I know Philip Boyd was up in here just a little while ago. I don't know if he's back because I know Philip Boyd is an extremely busy type of guy, all right, and a very dear contributor. In fact, anybody who steps up in here probably is a very dear contributor, and more than likely, it's a damn legend in the game. I don't know who's up in here, all right, but make yourself be known, all right, if you have the guts. Meanwhile, I guess we're gonna take a small peek at Ed Buck. All right, you probably already know who Ed Buck is, right? But just in case if you don't know, let me just say he's a Jeffrey Epperstein on steroids. All right, that's not to say that he's more rich or anything like that, but his story is far more bizarre. And to be honest, I'm surprised how much it's gone a little bit under the radar. Like, people have not been talking about Ed Buck just as much as they were talking about Jeffrey Epstein, right? Meanwhile, you might be aware that Jeffrey Epstein is a viral meme, basically, going all around the world. It's just me. It's Leah L. And then we got Unwrapped by Brenda. Somehow it's incognito because it only says it's one person. But we got Unwrapped by Brenda up in the building. And we got Leah L. All right. When I say dear contributors, I mean they bring me that noise. All right. They bring me that hot fire, and I appreciate it. All right. So we got a couple people up in the building. YouTube's lying to me and is telling me it's only one people in the building. But then again, my technology isn't the best. All right. Y'all, I had assumed that y'all probably already know who Ed Buck is. All right. If you haven't seen it, if you don't know who Ed Buck is, just read some of the stories about it, and it's going to be wild. All right. Note that he is very democratically connected, if you know what I'm saying. All right. Just like a Jeffrey Epstein. All right. Oh yeah, you can find him in pictures with Hillary Clinton. Yeah, for sure he look. That's our girl right there. For sure he donated all sort of money to Hillary Clinton and her campaigns. For sure he did. For sure he's up in pictures with her wearing a bow tie like some weird, just bizarre creep. Yeah, sure he is. But while we're looking at his images, I just wanted to point this out. You got this guy, and he looks somewhat normal. I didn't know who he was. I never heard his name until maybe a little while back. You take a look at his pictures, he almost looks normal. You know what I'm saying? He almost looks like an actual regular person. But then when you check out, I mean, this is the after picture right here, right? This is him up in court. This guy looks sincerely like just outside of his mind, right? It might remind you of Silence of the Lambs, all right? That's real talk. That's real world Silence of the Lambs, what you got going right there with that book. Totally, very much connected to the Democratic Party. Now, does he have dirt on Democrats such as a Jeffrey Epstein would have. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. The thing is, he hasn't got killed yet, all right? Or he hasn't, ended his own life in jail, whatever you call it. He hasn't done that yet, but he might as well have done it because look at his face, dude. Obviously, he's not gonna be good for nothing, not for very much longer, anyways. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing to him or how he got to be looking like that. Just as of recently, but he did. All right, it's really bad. All right. To summarize it, it should be national news like every single day. And in that, black folks were just coming up dead up in his apartment up in there in was it like Hollywood? I'm not sure where in Hollywood, West Hollywood or something like that. Just coming up dead and stuff, and that's just all right. I mean, literally two different African American, if that's what you're gonna call them, ended up dead up in his apartment. The first one died, and they were just like, who cares? It's just one. And then another one died, and they're like, well, I guess two's gonna die. That's only a matter of time, right? And then when a third person actually escaped from almost certain death at Ed Buck's house, where he's injecting people involuntarily with crystal meth. All right, that's all right out in the open. When that person escapes and alerts the authorities, that's when they finally find it in themselves to crack down on it. But meanwhile, I looked into it a little bit. In West Hollywood is the last place you'd want to be ever in the world. I promise you that. All right. It's some sick, sadistic stuff, and I don't even think that I had to tell y'all. All right. So I see that y'all are up in the building. All right. Keeping an eye out for y'all's comments. Right now is a free for all. I don't know how long it's going to last, but I want to take the opportunity out to just chill with y'all for a little bit. I already drank one Buzz Ball, and I'm fixing to drink another Buzz Ball, right? That's what I got on deck. If you don't know what that is, it's a drink that they sell at the convenience stores full of some alcohol, right? And not too much. Like, I'm not a heavy drinker or anything like that. But I thought I would take a little bit of, I don't know, the edge off. Here's buzz balls, right? Anyways, all right. Like I mentioned before, we have more than enough material. I was kind of brainstorming earlier on all the different things that we could follow and talk about and get updated on tomorrow evening. All right, right now I'm trying to think about what it is some of those topics are. I don't have them written down though. It's one of those things that sometimes I'll take a moment out, maybe a few moments out, and I'll just stare at a wall and I'll think, okay, what are the things I've been thinking about recently? What have I been looking into? And it's more than a couple of dozen different various stories that, we've been following. All right. But there's always room for a little bit more. I mean, the news kind of develops and it keeps going and it does not stop. All right. But I just wanted to show y'all that. Here's the before pictures. This is the after picture. And, I'm shocked that this guy isn't murdered. Maybe he doesn't even have to be murdered up in jail, all right? But I would imagine he has some sort of dirt regarding to Democratic politicians. Meanwhile, I really doubt that he has more dirt. Shout out to Alex Jones is up in the building. Oh, my man Alex Jones. It's a damn honor. He's up in the building. Shout out to him. And as far as Ed Buck goes, when you read his story, if you're not familiar with it, that's right. It's the real Alex Jones up in the building. He did a broadcast earlier today, and I only caught the tail end of it, but he was firing on all cylinders, dude. Like he was really. Yeah, he was going off and stuff, and I want to see the rest of the broadcast. I'm sure it was pretty dang good. I'm probably going to check it out as soon as we get off of this broadcast, in fact. All right. But anyways, I don't want to sit here and stare at a wall and brainstorm necessarily all the different things that we've been following. I know it's not the real Alex, obviously. I'm sure everybody else knows, but the thing is, obviously, Alex Jones is the busiest man pretty much on earth when you think about it. I wouldn't imagine that he'd be surfing YouTube. But I appreciate it's probably General Shepard out there. I'm the much hated Bart Fine. Yes, it is. Yes, he is. He is much hated. All right. YouTube hates him, all right? The thing is, that's why I love him, all right? That's why I love his efforts. And that's why I think everybody would appreciate him out there. You type in General Shepard on YouTube, you're going to get as much, if not more, Alex Jones than you could possibly ever even want. All right. On a daily on YouTube and stuff, man. YouTube's tripping. They've been tripping, and they continue to trip even harder and harder as time goes on. It's kind of embarrassing that I'm on YouTube, to be very honest. I want to be somewhere else, to be very honest. But at the same time, when it comes to these platforms like Twitch or, they got different other ones that stream. There's all sort of streaming publications. They might not be as bad as YouTube as far as censorship. But at the same time, they don't provide, unfortunately, what YouTube does. And then I could post up videos. I could record some videos, and I could also do live streaming and all of this. And it's very comprehensive. I can interact with people very easily here upon YouTube. All right. They've already proven that it is possible. However, they are slacking to the utmost, and they mean to do it. All right. They want to shut themselves down. They're suicidal in that sense, and it's kind of unfortunate. Trying to get back to YouTube, or not YouTube, but Google. I'm trying to get back to their main page right here, all right? And we'll talk about some of the stuff, because certainly a couple of the things that they're talking about are going to be a few of the topics that we're going to discuss tomorrow anyways, more than likely. I already saw one, but here, Trump pardoned for Roger Stone after guilty convictions, debatable, all right? So MSN is talking some noise. Here's the thing, what I wanted to interject about Roger Stone, because if you didn't know, a lot of people are talking about Roger Stone right now. In fact, that's one of the biggest news items, believe it or not, across the nation probably. I don't know about around the world, but across the nation, it certainly is pretty dang big, all right? A lot of people are talking about it, and a lot of people have never heard of Roger Stone ever in their lives, all right? That's the way the news works these days. Here's what I wanted to say about it. It's kind of controversial. Yes, we know that Roger Stone is a friend to Donald Trump. Yes, we know that has some certain optics. If he was to pardon Roger Stone, that would have certain optics that are kind of unprecedented. All right, we understand that. But here's what I wanted to interject, which I haven't heard nobody say, but I'm sure somebody said it, is that if I understand correctly, and maybe I don't, is that Roger Stone is not in jail right now today. All right. He has been convicted on 7 counts of, who knows, some gobbledygook or whatever. I see that the comments are coming in. I want to read them in a second, but I want to explain that as far as Roger Stone goes, I don't know whether or not to trust Roger Stone. And it's not even my place to decide whether or not to trust Roger Stone. All right. What's really remarkable is that it's playing it up on all of our faces that he didn't really do anything. All right. It's one of these cases where the government wants to mess you around. They're going to mess you around regardless of what you do. All right. They're going to try and lock you up regardless. But here's what I wanted to say about this. A lot of people are pretty getting heated, and they're getting extra agitated, and they're getting a little bit to where they don't have no patience for Donald Trump. Here's the thing. Just real briefly, what I want to explain, and what probably everybody knows out there, is Donald Trump, his supporters, the only thing that his supporters, basically in general, the only thing that they would whine about or complain about or critique him over is that he's not doing enough. Is that he's not being Donald Trump enough. Is that he's not taking the reins even harder. All right. And pretty much just, you know what I'm saying? Overwhelming people and just taking over almost in a dictator fashion. His supporters are at that point to where that's the only complaint that they have, is that he's not being Donald enough. Right. As far as his detractors, they're like, oh, this and that. He's a tyrant. He's a dictator. And oh, he's doing all this sort of stuff. And he's going to ban LGBTQ. And we're so afraid. And meanwhile, you got to know about his supporters. Whether you love or hate Donald Trump doesn't even matter. His supporters, the only complaint they have is that he's not going hard enough in the paint. That's the only complaint that I've ever heard. Is that he's not building the wall faster? Is that he's not locking people up faster? Is that he's not pardoning Roger Stone fast enough? That is the only complaints that I've ever heard. All right. So speaking of that, and Philip Boyd says, "Yep," and I totally appreciate it. I mean, he knows exactly where I'm coming from. Here's what I wanted to say. All right, Roger Stone is not in jail right now. All right. And if I understand correctly, he's not going to actually see a jail cell until February of next year. All right. I want us to think about that real quick. Because yeah, he's being railroaded. Yeah, it's one of those kangaroo courts. Everybody knows it. All right. But at the same time, as far as pardoning him, definitely Donald Trump would have to think about the optics of it. And note that Donald Trump plays the long game. Sometimes he does things that you don't understand why he did it until a couple weeks later, or even a couple months later. You don't understand why he's doing what he's doing, right? So I wanted to point that out. Roger Stone is not going to see a jail cell till about February. So as far as him getting pardoned, Donald Trump can sit on that for a while, right? And he could play his hand in a genius way, which is the way he tends to do things. And maybe Roger Stone never sees a jail cell anyways. And maybe Donald Trump doesn't even bring it up for a good while. All right, that's very possible. I just wanted to put that out there in the realm of possibility. And before we move on, let's just go ahead and check out the comments. I noticed that we got one by Unwrapped by Brenda. She's not only a dear contributor, but one of the co-hosts to this show. If we ever get some sort of technology going, I'm sure we'll get her on a split screen or something. She gets real deep. She says this: is YouTube going to get rid of small channels that aren't able to be monetized? I didn't read it myself, but I saw an upload that said it. All right. I wanted to address that because I've seen that a little bit as well. Certainly every week, every other week, you're going to have updates as far as YouTube. Oh, they're changing their policy. Oh, they're changing this and that. And they're upgrading, if you will. They're totally suiciding themselves as far as YouTube goes. But I want to address that because I heard that as well. As far as YouTube, they're going to, at their own discretion, just delete channels. They say, oh, they're live streaming. They're taking up they're taking up our bandwidth and stuff like that. Meanwhile, we don't even like them. We don't even want them to have free speech. So we're just going to delete their channels, right? I don't think it's going to happen in a ubiquitous sense. And in that, I don't think I'm personally going to get deleted tonight. Thing is, I definitely leave that up to possibility. I imagine I'll get deleted at any point in time for any reason, but I don't think it's going to delete everybody in such a panic sense that they're thinking about. What it does is it opens the door in the future for them to have more of an ability to delete whoever they want at whatever time they want, and know it. You know what I'm saying? It's not about you. It's about what they want, right? They might as well call it TheyTube, all right? Because it's not about what you want. It's not about what we want. Might as well call it ThemTube, all right? But until we get some suggestions, and trust me, I can't wait to hear y'all's suggestions. I remember actually right off top that Brenda, and I haven't gotten back to her yet on that. Sometimes I don't get back to people on comments immediately, and just know that I see them and I plan to get back to them. On my other channel, she was discussing the abnormal amount of times that chicken is mentioned in our news today. Chicken. Yeah, that's right. Fried chicken. It's mentioned so much during the news, and she was wondering about that, the quantity of it. And certainly I've been wondering about it a little bit. It's kind of weird. Of course, we don't believe in coincidences, but it's kind of a weird coincidence that chicken be all up in the news, whether it be Chick-fil-A and that whole controversy, whether it be Popeyes and people straight up and down killing themselves and fighting their own mama up in the Popeyes chicken lines. She was wondering about that and if there's anything behind that necessarily. As awkward as it is, I don't think so. I'm just organically, I think Chick-fil-A is coming up in the news. Why? Because LGBTQIA-P/2, that whole organization of people that doesn't even exist is attacking Chick-fil-A like at no end, and so it's always going to be in the news. All right, just to speak on Chick-fil-A, as far as every time they get attacked by the alphabet soup people, as far as every single time that they get attacked by them, Chick-fil-A makes more money. That much I guarantee. All right, period. And they know it. That's why they haven't said nothing. That's why like they could go on a thing and start talking noise if they wanted to, but instead they're just doing nothing and doing their whole Chick-fil-A thing. They're making more money every time they get protested. I promise you that they are. All right, so Chick-fil-A is sitting fat and sassy, and I don't even blame them, and I don't hate on them either. I love Chick-fil-A, all right? But it's also in reference, I know we're not looking at it right now, um, but it's also in reference, actually we are. It just pops right up. It's also in reference to Popeye's chicken, the chicken sandwich. And people have been wondering, is it making people go crazy? Is it making people stab other people at Popeyes to death? Um, it's kind of interesting, and I pondered on that for a little bit, for a little while now. All right, and I have kind of come to a conclusion on that. All right, and I have a particular perspective, and in that, if I walk out my door right now, it's not going to take me but 10 or 12 minutes, depending on how fast I walk, to get to a Popeyes chicken. All right. And the thing is, the other day I was actually strolling around the neighborhood, and I was like, I see that their sandwich is back. I just so happen to be like 20, 30 yards away, so I'm gonna go ahead and check it out. And I went in there and I bought two of their chicken sandwiches, one on the original and one on the spicy side, right? Just to see, the kind of difference between it. And Lord knows I can eat two chicken sandwiches, dude. Not a problem. So I went there, and I want to explain my experience real quick. I went in there, and there was not hardly a line. There was one person in front of me. All right, and I want to mention real briefly, if I ever went to any place at all besides the Chick-fil-A, and they had say 4 or 5 different people up in the line in front of me, if they only had 5 people, I would turn around, walk out, and go to a different restaurant. Right? I'm not about to wait, dude. I'm not the type to wait for anything, dude. Like, I just don't have the patience. All right, I don't care if I really, really wanted Popeyes at the time. I'm gonna go somewhere else so I don't wait so long, right? But anyways, I went into Popeyes. There was one person in front of me. I got 2 chicken sandwiches. I got them with the greatest of ease. All right, it took like hardly no time at all. I got the chicken sandwiches, walked out, and I ate them as I was walking. All right, I gotta say they were pretty good chicken sandwiches. All right, to compare them to Chick-fil-A, I would say maybe not as good, but close to. It's on the level. You can kind of compare them to Chick-fil-A sandwiches, right? There's also different various other restaurants who provide a fried chicken sandwich. If you've never heard of it, like for example in San Antonio, we got this restaurant called Bill Miller's. You probably never heard of it. It's a local thing. And Bill Miller's, I tried their fried chicken sandwich the other day. It was just as good as Popeye's chicken sandwich. All right. Thing is, it wasn't bad at all. The Popeye's chicken sandwich was good. It's not worth murdering people for. It's not worth even getting in a fight over. What I gotta explain, all right? What I wanted to explain is that I don't think it has much to do with chicken at all. As far as chicken being in the news so much recently. Uh, if I'm being very honest, it's the locations in which it is. It has everything to do with the locations. Certainly, there might be exceptions to the rule in which some very rambunctious person finds himself in a nice neighborhood and they want to start mess over chicken sandwiches. That might happen, but for the most part, what you're going to find is in very poverty-stricken areas, in which areas where people don't really have no sense at all. That's where you're going to find the violence erupting over these chicken sandwiches. Whether or not you could blame Popeyes over that, I kind of doubt it. Um, just to make reference to some of the semi-recent news, as far as any establishment goes, if you run out of buns and if you suggest that I bring buns in order to make a sandwich to your restaurant, there's not a chance in hell I'm going to do that. I mean, I'm very much insulted by that. And some people were so desperate for the chicken sandwiches that they probably even done it. They waited in lines that were an hour and a half long, right? That's what's so wild about it. It's like these same people who are willing to fight anybody and stab anybody in the neck over a chicken sandwich are the same type of people who will wait in a line in a poverty-stricken area in a very violent neighborhood for an hour and a half for Popeye's chicken sandwich. All right, I don't understand it, dude. I'm not even close to understand it. I mean, it's just so. It's like the propaganda works on them so hard that they don't care if they risk life and limb to get this damn chicken sandwich. It's not the best chicken sandwich in the world, and who even cares if it was? All right. Anyways, y'all, this is a free for all. And I'm open to y'all suggestions as far as the broadcast tomorrow. This broadcast ain't gonna be nothing compared to the broadcast that we're gonna have tomorrow. So I'm checking for the suggestions in the comments. So be sure to suggest something if you have something on your mind. If we haven't mentioned it, especially recently, Alex Jones, the real, authentic, one and only Alex Jones says, yes, you will be deleted for subscribing to General Shepard. Yeah, I bet you. I wouldn't doubt it, but I'm going to subscribe anyways. All right. I wish they would try to come to stop me. All right. He also says a case will be thrown out upon appeal. That's very possible. It's pretty possible, and they might go that way. That's the thing is, as far as Donald Trump, and this is in reference to Roger Stone and his whole case, he might be waiting for the appeal to go in and see if it gets denied or not before he even attempts to issue a pardon. Because here's the thing, a reasonable mind, a sort of reasonable judge would probably throw out this thing anyways, would probably understand the appeal, and the process would, take care of itself that way. Meanwhile, Donald Trump only has time. Like I said, Roger Stone's not going to see a jail cell till February anyways. So wait to see if the appeal falls through. And then like a boss come in and say, hey, guess what? I'm the president of the United States. And I say that we're going to follow the law actually on this particular occasion. All right. So that's the way I see it playing out. Whether or not you like Roger Stone at all, it really doesn't matter. Like I said, I don't know that I all the way trust him, but at the same time, I don't want to see people go to jail having not committed a crime at all. All right, it's some sort of kangaroo court, which everybody's trying to keep everything secret on purpose. All right. Unwrapped by Brenda says she gets it. I don't know what she's talking about, but I think I get it too, y'all. All right. So we're just gonna look at Google real quick. All right. See if they give us any more ideas. Lord knows Google helps us out, and I totally appreciate it. They're telling us about TK. He's indicted on capital murder charge. That's a report. You never heard of this person? I heard him a long time ago. He had a smash hit called The Race, and you can go ahead and look it up on YouTube, and I'm just sure that it's been viewed tens of millions of times. All right, at least. It's called The Race, and it was a very popular song. I don't even think it was well done, to be honest, but who cares? Like, as far as radio rap goes and like popular culture rap goes, it doesn't have to be good. It just has to be violent. It has to be very ignorant and stuff like that. Anyways, and this guy was actually from up out of the Dallas area, Dallas Fort Worth, which as far as Fort Worth and some of Dallas goes, it's a very wild area. Anyways, I completely understand that. I don't know why Google's telling us about this. necessarily if this is a new update, because I understand that TK was running around not only Texas but probably other places just acting wild, acting crazy. He came to San Antonio and killed some dude at a Chick-fil-A. All right, the real talk. Like that's just one of his charges. All right. I mean, this little kid was running wild. The thing is, TK is a perfect example that I wanted to bring up. And now a lot of people look at the young kids these days, right? And they look at these young kids and say, man, they don't got no meat on their potatoes. Man, these kids, they ain't gangster like we used to be back in the day and blah, blah, blah. They don't have that gangster. They're not true, legitimate gangster and stuff. I've heard that from people. They say, oh, these rappers out here, these little kids out here like TK, they're just faking the funk. They're not really gangster, blah, blah, blah. All right. What I gotta say is, for better or for worse, TK is one of the most gangster people I ever heard of in my life. All right, now I wouldn't want to have nothing to do with it, to be honest with you. All right, absolutely gangster. And as far as meat on their bones and stuff, it's really not even necessary. What I gotta explain about Generation Z and tail end of these millennials is, when it comes to their gangster, they might not be able to fight necessarily. Like if you get in a fight with them, you probably take them if you're like not an elderly man at the park getting like getting, you know what I'm saying, getting blindsided from out of nowhere, which is what TK did to some elderly man up in the park. All right, you could probably defend yourself against TK on a physical level, but at the same time, even more so, I can say, because I grew up a little bit a while back, right? I consider myself Generation X, to be honest. And I know a lot of people, it's debated and stuff. Forget that. I'm not a millennial, right? Right? I was like 13, 14 by the time a millennium came. I'm not accepting it. But what I got to say about these Generation Zs is they might not look so gangster. You might not be so intimidated just to look at them. They will kill you in a heartbeat, and they will not have not a shred of remorse over it at all. All right, I'm here to tell you. If you ever seen the movie City of God, for example, City of God, now it's all in like Spanish or Portuguese or something. They're all up in Brazil, and it's just a movie, and I'm sure it's not the only one, but it's a movie about children gangsters. Trust me, that's the way it's going. That's the way it always goes, right? Take a look at Africa. As far as a child soldiers, that's the way it always goes. The children become so ruthless, and they don't even have no conscience, to be honest with you. Some of them, right? It's just the kind of society that we built up around them, in which they're wilding out to the extreme, right? That's TK right here. I don't know what they're talking about as far as capital murder charges. Let's see. Okay, we're not going to read the article, but it says rapper TK has been indicted on a capital murder charge in Bexar County. That's San Antonio, by the way. In Bexar County, Texas, as San Antonio, ABC affiliates, blah, blah, blah. And I would assume that it has something to do with him killing that dude up at a Chick-fil-A, all right? It wasn't our nicest Chick-fil-A, to be honest with you, but yet still Chick-fil-A's are pretty nice regardless. There should be no violence popping off at a Chick-fil-A, all right? And it had nothing to do with chicken, to be honest with you. I think they were trying to steal some video equipment from. It was a young man. They just killed him for nothing. All right, they'll kill you for nothing. All right, and I just want to stress that you might not be afraid of these kids out here. Some of these kids will kill you for nothing, dude. All right, not even think twice about it. Uh, I would be very concerned about it. And there's lots of places in the nation in which they have a serious problem. Like businesses have a serious problem with gangs of these children just wandering around, sometimes having like these mob situations in which they do whatever they want to. And if you try to stop them, it's going to be a violent confrontation and they will kill you for nothing. Promise you. Promise you on that. That's it. That's what we got into here in America. Promise you. Just touch on some other stuff, I don't know how long we're going to be here, but let's touch on a few more things before we get out of here. What's this say? Kenyan woman featured on Pete Buttigieg's website for probably Frederica or whatever her name is. Who knows what they're talking about? Who even cares? Booty judges, prospects, and this whole. He doesn't stand a chance. He never did. He's trying to get people's money. It's quite obvious, right? There's people out there who really believe in Booty Judge, and they're more blind than you could ever even imagine, right? In fact, anybody going after any of these Democratic politicians, dude, I'm not a Republican. I've never been a Republican, probably will never be a Republican. Anyone going after any of these Democratic candidates, to include Bernie Sanders, is plumb outside of your mind, dude. You couldn't be you couldn't be dumber if you tried to be dumber. And that's unfortunate. I don't mean to like bash on people like this, but you got to be so smoked out on reefer that your brain is on fire in order to even come close to wanting Bernie Sanders as your president, dude. It's not even going to happen. Buttigieg is even worse, right? In fact, all the other candidates are even worse. Speaking of this new generation, I see that Google brought up Lil Reese. You don't know who that is, I wouldn't blame you. All right, but however, Lil Reese, he's a rapper, and I've known about him for a while. If you're familiar with Chirac, all right, was formerly known as Chicago. You might know that they had a style of music that became very popular maybe a few years ago, and it's still on the scene, but it's not as popular as it once was. All right, what it's called is drill music. All right, and what that is a subsect of rap music. All right, it's a different style of rap, and if you type in drill, and if you want to listen to it, if you never heard it before, you're gonna notice that it has a certain style to it. All right, a certain distinguishable style to it that sets itself apart from other rap. And I would say one of the main qualities of drill music is that it is of poor quality. It is not good. It hardly takes any talent at all to put together drill music, and that's unfortunate. But one of the biggest drill rappers, even back in the day, was Lil Reese. And he recently got shot in the neck in Chicago, right? And I know I'm speaking to an exclusive few out there when I say, hey, if you make it big in rap music, especially drill music of the utterly most violent, despicable types, if that's what you do, I'm not gonna stop you. Nor I wouldn't dream of ever stopping you. Right? That's your own free will. But at the same time, move from out of your city, especially if your city is Chicago. I don't care if you're hanging out in the suburbs, dude. People are gonna come and kill you, and that's inevitable. Even Chief Keef will tell you he's been in LA for so long now. Like, just get out, and don't even ever come back. All right, and that's for your own safety. Because the thing is, it's only a matter of time before you get shot up in your neck, just like Lil Reese, all right? But the thing is, he went into critical condition. He found himself up in the ICU from being shot up in the neck just recently. If you hadn't heard about it, what's the headline say? Lil Reese, out of hospital, updates fans after being shot. I got hella luck. That's interesting. I don't know how lucky it is that you'd be shot up in the neck. But it is kind of, I guess, lucky. I don't believe in luck, me personally, but it is a little bit lucky that you survived the incident, all right? Unlike many other rappers before you, it's kind of lucky that you did. All right. All sort of controversy. If you've never heard of Lil Reese, there's all sort of dead bodies in and around his legendary story, for sure. And we can't say that whether or not he killed people. I mean, certainly people have dissed Lil Reese on tracks and ended up dead. All right, multiple people. All right, that's not to say Lil Reese did it, or if he even had any idea of who did it. It's just to say Chicago is a very violent place, and coincidentally, people dissing Lil Reese have ended up dead. All right, let's just put it like that. If I understand the situation correctly, though, there's hearsay going on about it. I heard one story in which Lil Reese, he charged somebody $20,000 for a verse, and trust me, that's a standard price for a verse these days. If you're a rapper with some sort of credibility and you have a name out there, you're easily charging $20,000 for about 16 bars, if that. All right, so that's the kind of money. The story that I heard, and I don't know if it's true, is that Lil Reese charged somebody $20,000 and just didn't give him the song back, didn't contribute to it at all. And that resulted in some gangster ass people coming in shooting him all up in at an intersection, all up in the neck, stuff like that. As you can see, he went ahead and survived. Forget why I wanted to bring that up. I think the main point is that these people out here, these young kids out here, you might think of them and look at them and think about them in a certain way. But trust me, they're deadly. It's deadly dangerous. The game that they're playing out here right now. All right, and also I wanted to bring up that I heard about Lil Reese is that as much as he's dumb in many ways, he's actually kind of smart, probably. All right, I heard a story, and it might be legit. We'll find out. I heard a story that Lil Reese, he said that he would be open to interviews. He said the first publication that wants to interview him for his first interview outside of getting shot up in the neck, that publication is going to have to pay him a cool $1 million. $1 million just to get one interview from Lil Reese, right? And you know what's interesting? You might not be so aware of the money that changes hands in the rap game and stuff like that. And as far as the gossip rags go and the money that is to be made off this sort of gossip, what I gotta say is, as soon as I heard that, I knew it was ingenious because here's the thing: the way that the gossip rags go is Lil Reese, as far as hip hop goes, yeah, they're gonna want that interview. Are they gonna pay $1 million to get the interview? Yeah, probably. As fantastic as that scene is, as fantastical as that might seem to y'all out there, yeah, I guarantee it. The publication that wants it bad enough is gonna pay Lil Reese $1 million, a cool $1 million, and I don't know if that's before or after tax. I bet you it's before tax. They're gonna pay him $1 million to just simply be the first interview with him. I mean, he might interview with somebody right after he does that with y'all. It doesn't even matter. They're gonna pay him $1 million, right? And in that sense, he's actually pretty smart because he knows that these publications are so thirsty for gossip that they're gonna pay the $1 million, right? So he might as well take it and put it in his pocket right now instead of bullshitting, instead of like saying, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna interview with whoever calls me." No, he's making the smart move right now because he knows that they're gonna want it regardless, right? So he's asking for that $1 million. I have nothing against the guy. I personally, I hope that he gets the $1 million, right? And I hope he takes that $1 million plus whatever money he has stored up, and he gets the hell up out of Chicago. To be very honest with you, and it's not to say that there's not dangerous places around the nation, but it's to say when you come up in Chicago, when your whole history is in Chicago, when all your beefs are mainly in Chicago, you're a rapper and you're rapping drill music, you probably want to get the hell up out of there, dude. That would be the smart move, right? I wanted to touch on that real quick, and then we'll see what else we got in store for Google. I noticed that there's not so many comments right now. Yeah, it happens and stuff. People may or may not be kicked off my live stream right now. I really can't tell. I know that there's one person, according to YouTube, that's up in the viewing area, and shout out to that person. We're going to see what Google has in store for us, and we're going to see what kind of suggestions that y'all might have out there. Then we're going to wind it up, all right, because it's not really a official, legitimate broadcast. It's just something where I wanted to touch base with y'all real quick. Tomorrow, we're getting geared up for an official broadcast where we're going to rattle it off, dude. We're going to go topic after topic after topic, and we're going to go hard in the paint. I want to remind everybody, and I'm going to say it a million times over, I don't know why you like this broadcast. I know some people do. All right, I couldn't tell you why. All right, I appreciate it either way. I really do. And this broadcast would be nothing without you. Okay. But I wanted to remind everybody out there that also, as humorous as I might make something sometimes, it's kind of my default to me. And I've explained this before. It's really my default to make things humorous, to make things entertaining. At the same time, none of this is entertainment. I want to stress to y'all out there, this purpose of this show is not to entertain you at all. If we're getting down to the real nitty gritty, the purpose of this show, and I think a lot of people already understand, is, and shout out to the second person up in the building, The purpose of this show specifically, and I want to stress this, it's not for entertainment at all. Okay. When I say we're in a civil war, it's not coming, it's here, it's already here. I mean it. I promise you. All right. This is not for entertainment. Like, for example, don't expect that, and I know nobody does, but don't expect for this broadcast to be here 40 years from now and we're just going to be rattling off the same stuff. We don't have that kind of time. All right. The reason why I'm talking about all this sort of stuff that's wild, all frantically and stuff like that, is because we have a very limited amount of time. And nothing about this broadcast is for entertainment. It's actually to prep, to be honest. It's kind of a prepper thing. Not only for y'all out there, but for myself as well. This is kind of a teamwork effort. I may be the one that's speaking, but I need y'all's comments. I need y'all's input, and I get it. Trust me. Like I'm definitely satisfied with what y'all give me. Because this broadcast is not for entertainment. It's for to prep. Specifically, it's for to prep for a moment in time in which we'll all be called to the carpet, each and every one of us individually. We're going to be held to task, if you will, and our number is going to be called. And at that particular moment in time, we're going to have to make a decision. All right. Before we go on any further, I want to discuss that real quick. And I'm going to discuss it a lot. That's the main theme of this broadcast, is that there's going to be a moment in time when we're forced to make a decision, an ultimatum, if you will. And it's going to be in a lot of different various ways. But basically, what it's going to be, the decision that's going to be laid in front of us is there's going to be an option A, which is to take the easy way out, perhaps the cowardly way out, and whatever the situation entails. Or option B, we're going to stick to the truth, regardless of the consequences, because we understand that there's children out there that need us to tell the truth, regardless of the consequences. It's going to be option B. And it's to prep us for that particular moment in which we're obligated to pick option B and take whatever is coming down the pike for us. All right, as far as sticking to the truth, sticking to our guns, and knowing that it's all going to turn out well in the end anyways. All right, most people aren't going to be ready for that moment. I'm here to tell you, and you already know. It's written in the Bible, just so that y'all know. I mean, you already know what it is, but there's going to be that moment. Trust me, it's going to be in our lifetime. It's going to be in each and every one of our lifetimes when we're going to be stuck with a decision. It's not to say that we'll definitely meet our demise at that particular moment, but we'll be met with a decision to make. And it's very important, it's vital that at that point in time that we choose the truth, that we choose the way, that we choose the life. That might remind you of somebody. It's going to be vital. All right. And that's what I want to stress. That's what this broadcast is all about. All right. Just prepping for that specific moment. That's what we're here to do. And we don't care how long it takes. We're going to call it the fake news every single day until that happens, right? But in the meantime, that's how we peruse through some of these stories. They said something about, and I've already seen this, Miami is eliminated from blah, blah, blah as far as sports go, and who even cares, right? But let's see what else Google has in store for us right quick before we get up out of here. I noticed that the status of the signal is not very strong, and that's all right. All right, but we're going to rattle off a few more stories before we get up out of here. The headline reads, lobbying for pardons on Fox News and InfoWars. I don't know what they're talking about, all right? Who's to say? But this is by CNN, so you can imagine that it's fake as all hell. I don't know if they're even talking about Roger Stone, to be honest. Below the headline, it says Fox's Pete Hegseth, a name I never heard of before, successfully pushed Trump to pardon service members accused of war crimes, blah, blah, blah. CNN is fake news, but Most assuredly, they're going to be talking about Roger Stone. They're going to be talking about pardons. They're going to be talking about people holding up the rule of law and how that's just going to be totally disastrous for our nation. In fact, our nation shouldn't have borders and this and that. And USA is not great. It's never going to be great. It's a piece of garbage and we hate it. Basically, CNN's message, right? You know what I'm saying? Just to save y'all time. I would go ahead and bring up this as one of the latest mass shootings. It's over there in Santa Clarita. And I want to talk about this real quick. I don't know nothing about it. Nothing, right? And I'm not out here to dive into every mass shooting that takes place necessarily. Of course, we talk about Parkland. We're going to talk about it a lot more. Just because I've done my due diligence, I've done some research. Like, I know who you're talking about when it comes to Parkland and stuff like that. I don't mean to spend all my free time studying every last one of these mass shootings. But I am here to tell y'all, as far as mass shootings go, especially up through schools, obviously, as you already know, you can expect more, right? That's a guarantee. You're going to have more, right? The main culprit of this, the reason why you're going to have more mass shootings up in schools is directly, and it has nothing to do with anything else but the mass media, right? It's absolutely solely the mass media's fault. And as I've stated before, the reason because of this is because the mass media hypes it up, right? And it speaks propaganda into the ears of completely insane people, or whatever. Who's to say? Maybe they set this kid up. Maybe they wound this kid up like a wind-up toy and made him do this sort of stuff. I don't know the details, and I'm not even concerned with the details, to be honest with you. Right? I can't keep up with every mass shooting, but here's what it says. The headline says, 5 wounded. I know that 1 or 2 people were killed up in the mass shooting. Right? Just keep it very simple, very brief as far as this situation goes. It's yet another example, unfortunately, for those people who wish to put their children up in public schools for whatever reason. I couldn't even tell you why. For those people who wish to do that sort of thing, um, what you would want for certain at this point, I mean, we've already known for a while, but what you want for certain is armed guards, a number of them at your child's school, period. The end of the story. All right, because that's the thing. It's like, they came out immediately from Parkland, which just goes to show you how contrived that whole situation was. I'm not here to say what was real, what was fake. I'm saying their push for gun control in the seconds after Parkland was very telling. It was very telling. Meanwhile, their so-called push for gun control and banning certain various weapons throughout the country would certainly lead to all sort of deaths. It would most certainly, there's not a doubt in anybody's mind that it would lead to hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands of deaths, right? So you want to ban guns, so to save people's lives. Meanwhile, more people would die off of that. That's just common sense, right? People are not going to give up their guns. You should already know it. Um, the simple solution, which is on the minds of everybody, to include Andrew Pollock, which some people think he's a fake. I couldn't tell you one way or the other. But the simple solution would be to put some armed guards up in all the damn schools, right? And you might say, oh, that's going to cost millions and millions of dollars across the country. Yeah, you know what? These states have millions and millions of dollars to spend, all right? So if whatever public school that people are wanting to send their children to, if they can't afford to have armed guards on duty all the time, 24/7, like, or at least when school is in session, if they aren't willing to do that, then that school potentially is a death trap for your little child. And there ain't nothing that you could do about it, period. I know that for a fact, right? For example, like if your child's school goes into lockdown, for example, and your child's in public school, if your child's school goes into lockdown, guess what? You can kiss your child goodbye. That's not your child no more. Legally speaking, you don't have no jurisdiction over your child if that school's in lockdown. You're not going to see your child. there's nothing you could do. All right, period. You're not going to be let into that school if school's on lockdown, and they're going to lock down your children, and they're going to make sure that your children are sitting ducks, just ready to be picked off. All right, that's literally the situation of the schools. So any schools with any sort of sense who are not trying to totally set up children for their own demise, well, those schools will be obviously bulking up on armed security at this point. Period. It's not even debatable at this point in the game, all right? They're going to have armed security, all sort of them. All sort of them. And fiscally, that is very possible. It's very possible. But however, you know that these schools are trying to nickel and dime you, dude. They're trying to make all sort of money. And they don't want to pay the hefty amount of money that it would cost in order to employ these armed guards. They don't want to pay that. No, they don't want to pay that money. However, if they do, like I said, if they go in lockdown, that child ain't yours no more, period. I'm going to tell you, on a legal status, not yours, right? So let's go ahead and deal with that, I guess. Aaron Carter is hospitalized for concern. Google likes to tell me about Aaron Carter. Shout out to the people up in the building. We're about to wind this down. I think we've had enough time. We might make it 10 or 15 minutes longer. But for sure, give me your suggestions right now if you have them, or leave me a comment or something up in another video, and I'll probably get it and see it. As in regards to certain topics that we might discuss tomorrow night, right? Be sure to do that. In the meantime, we got to look at Aaron Carter, and you can see a good shot of his face tattoo. I'm sorry about it, but damn, dude, he's in a bad situation. Aaron Carter, his concerns for his condition, as his concerns for his condition continue. He just recently put himself up in a hospital. I don't know why. All right, probably for all his drug addiction and stuff like that. He's probably all spent up and burnt out. All right. I wanted to mention it just real briefly because we follow this story loosely from time to time. We're gonna bring it up. Aaron Carter. We brought it up many times before. That is a situation of epic proportions, all right? If you're not familiar with the details, trust me, just Google it. All sort of drama going around Aaron Carter for the past couple of years, right? And what I wanted to point out, just while we got the time, while we're looking at it right now, is I wanted to point out that I don't know if Aaron Carter is telling the truth about anything, all right? And maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But what I'm here to say is that his mama, his guardian angel, his mommy, that is a prime example of a mother out to destroy her children. Period. Right? And it might not seem so on the face of it, but if you look into it a little bit more and more, you're going to find a mother who does not give a damn, dude. All right, and she'll exploit her children to no end, to their very bitter death. She will. She'll do it. And she's doing it right now. She's doing it just about as textbook as you could possibly do it. All right, that'd be Aaron Carter's mama. And she's taking care of him so good right now, and she's gonna make sure everything turns out all right. What it is a microcosm for every one of those mamas out there who's like, oh, yeah, I got to take care of my children and stuff like that. I got to shield him from the world and stuff. What it is a disgraceful, to put it very lightly, attempt to completely control and manipulate your children. And it doesn't matter if their own death is around the corner. Does not matter. All right, so anyways, Angels and Outlaws, it just came out by Struggle Jennings. He's a rapper that I just heard about recently, and he's got he's definitely put in his work, all right, as far as that goes. He's definitely got an archive, and I just only recently became acquainted with it. I don't have time to listen to music the way I wish I did have time, because it's more about news and stuff like that. But I gotta say, Struggle Jennings, he's got a good voice. If you never heard of him, just go ahead and check out one of his songs, man. You're gonna like his voice, and you're probably gonna like the messages behind his music and stuff. I heard a number of his songs, and they're pretty dang insightful. They're pretty dang deep, pretty dang good, and I like his voice. He just came out with Angels and Outlaws. That might be something to check out. All right, and what I would suggest, if you never heard of him before, and if you want to listen to it after this broadcast or whenever, if you want to listen to it, there's different songs that you could see, but there's this one song in particular that's with Struggle Jennings, and he's got whatever you call it. He's got a sample of old school Waylon Jennings singing the chorus. That song goes hard. It's so good. It is so good. And I just wanted to bring that up to y'all. Presence actually came out by Styles P, which is a rapper of Out of the Locks. Like I said, I don't have time pretty much to listen to music. I listen to music about as much as I can and stuff, so I really can't keep up with these rappers, especially, dude. I don't really have time for rap music, but Google wanted to tell me about Styles P. He's a rapper that honestly I like. I like his style. There's a new episode of 60 Minutes, like anybody cares at all. Probably don't. And Alamo Dome disc kicks off San Antonio's most popular stories this week. All right. It's a story that I never heard of. Oh, it might be so popular around San Antonio, but I couldn't care any less about it. Oh, somebody dissed the Alamo Dome. Who, who would possibly care? But, Google's trying to tell me about all that, y'all. I don't have no time for that at all. All right. And so we're gonna have to wind it down, dude. We've discussed a lot already. This broadcast was just a brainstorming session. I appreciate everybody out there. Shout out to everybody out there. And I hope that you have a good night. I'll just check up on these comments and stuff. I might have missed a couple. Alex Jones, the real Alex Jones / General Shepard / Bart Fine, a very dear contributor to this channel, and someone who's definitely putting in their work, more so than me, I had to admit. He says, by the way, the profile Bart Fine is now banned from Facebook. Unless that is your legal name. Damn. Oh man, see, I haven't been on Facebook for a long time, y'all. Simply because I can't stand it. Like, I don't have the patience for it to begin with. I mean, never mind that Facebook literally is out to videotape you while you don't know, and record you while you don't know, and sell it to the highest bidder every time. That's what Facebook is about. Period. All right. Never mind all that. But of course, they're getting more and more dystopic, and as you probably heard, they're eventually going to require you to contribute your ID to Facebook just to make sure that it's you. Just because they want to make sure that if you do something that they don't like, that they shut you down as a person, that they what's called deperson you. They make you no longer a person who's even capable of getting on the internet. They want to make sure of it. They want to make sure of it because they know that people have been getting around their system by just creating different accounts and stuff like that, telling the truth, whereas Facebook would rather they don't tell the truth. Right? Facebook would rather you shut your damn mouth and don't say anything ever again, especially if it has anything to do with positively about Donald Trump. All right, it's quite obviously election meddling to the most extreme fashion that you can even think about. Right? Obviously, they need to be handled and dealt with. But Facebook still is running amok. So I really don't doubt what Bart Fine is telling us right now is that you can't even get on Facebook, period. They banned that name. They banned the name Bart Fine. I wouldn't doubt it at all. Unless that is your legal name, and they're going to take your ID, and they're going to want to get your social security. And once you do put that out there, they're going to take every little bit of information that they could possibly conjure up about you, and they're going to sell it to whatever Chinese company that they want to. All right? Does that make you feel good? I bet it does. All right. The real Alex Jones said, "Did you know that Filipino hookers give you only 3 minutes?" No, I didn't. I've actually personally never visited a hooker. Uh, God bless and rest in peace my late uncle who died maybe a couple of months ago. I forget, it was a little while back. And he's the kind of fella to patron hookers and stuff like that. And he would tell us from time to time, "Hey man, it's its own deal." Like I've mentioned before, I was pretty close to my Uncle Willie. As far as personalities go, if you're gonna compare me to anybody in my family at all, I'm definitely more similar to my Uncle Willie than anybody else, and by a long shot. All right. And he recently died, and yeah, he'd frequent hookers from time to time. I really don't know. I don't blame him necessarily either. But he said, Alex Jones said this. It's not the real Alex Jones, but he said, "Did you know Filipino hookers give you only 3 minutes?" Here's the thing. I've never even been outside of the country. And real briefly, I want to discuss that I don't have no desire even to leave the country. I know that up in a civil war. I know that it has the potential to turn to chaos in any given area at any given point in time through manipulation. I understand that, but I ain't about to leave America anyways. All right. I mean, I do have options on the table. I could say fly over to Cambodia, probably at any time of my choosing. I probably could, all right? Many different various areas, but I'm probably not going to. As far as the hookers, I did not know that about Filipino hookers. That might be for good reason. I'm sure that they did not settle on 3 minutes from out of nowhere. All right, I'm pretty sure that there's a logistical lead up to the idea behind only giving you 3 minutes. Probably that's the average amount of time that it even takes. I wouldn't doubt it for you to get in, get the job done, get the hell up out of there. Not only that, I wouldn't know, but I wouldn't doubt that Filipino ladies of the night are very busy. You know what I'm saying? And that they don't exactly get enough money to have time to rest, is what I would imagine. All right. So 3 minutes, that might not seem like a lot of time, but I'm sure for a lot of people that'd be more than enough time for them. All right, but it is to give you some sort of insight on the economical stress that Filipino hookers are facing, these days. All right, and I think that is pretty important to note that. I just scrolled on a thing right now, and we may or may not end on this note. In fact, it's kind of a perfect note to end on if we were to do that. All right, Lord knows I'm running out of steam. All right, and I gotta take it easy. I already just drank 2 Buzz Balls. I just drank the last sip right now, and so I feel, some sort of way. And I just wanted to probably end on this because I've seen this earlier. All right. This has to do with Parkland. Now, if you're a connoisseur of Parkland and all the various details that absolutely don't add up as far as the official story, if you're one of those, you probably already recognize this guy's face right here. All right, that would be Emmanuel Oliver. He's the father of Joaquin Oliver, who is one of the alleged people who got shot up in Parkland. All right, I don't know one way or the other, but allegedly, the Joaquin Oliver, he died up in Parkland from getting shot. So did 17 other people or 16 other people. Right. Okay, this is what I wanted to mention. I actually was looking at this particular headline when I was at Popeye's Chicken earlier. And I forgot to mention, as far as Popeyes went, it went with the greatest of ease. The other day when I got 2 chicken sandwiches, nothing happened. All right, nothing at all. At all right. I don't think we can blame Popeyes for all the violence that's happening. It's specific areas, specific neighborhoods where it's happening, all right, where you should expect it to happen, right? Meanwhile, I did want to mention, and I forgot to mention, All right, now when I was in Popeyes the first time, when I went up in there and I got those two chicken sandwiches a few days ago, and I don't remember what day it was, I made note of the crew, of the people behind the scenes who were making my chicken sandwich. And I want to tell you this. They did the job that I expected them to do, and I have no complaints at it at all right? However, if I did have complaints, if I did want to raise up a ruckus, if I did want to give them grief over the amount of time or whatever it took to give me my chicken sandwiches, all right, here's what the insight I have to share with y'all is. If I did, the crew behind the counter, I would imagine, would have a very short fuse. They were young kids, and I know, I mean, like, they had tattoos and this and that, and I'm not intimidated by any of them. I'm just saying that if I were to give them a reason to for multiple of those employees to whip my ass, they'd probably be successful at doing it, right? Period. Just by looking at the people that was behind the scenes and stuff like this, it's like, dude, more than likely, if I raised hell up in this Popeyes for whatever reason, those employees probably come out and whip my ass, dude. And I just can't really even deny it, right? Meanwhile, I asked them for a service. They gave me the service. I respectfully took it and left, and everybody was a winner. All right. I don't have nothing against those people. And then I came in today and I had an equally, it was Sunday, it was during the afternoon, it's during lunchtime. I went in there, I had no problems at all. None at all. All right. And I just wanted to put that out there. I see General Shepard. Damn, we got Alex Jones and General Shepard in the building at the same time. I don't even know how that's possible. He said, "Hey y'all, did you know that most prostitutes have husbands and boyfriends?" Laughing out loud. I'm not sure how we can fact check that necessarily, but did we know? I don't know that we knew. Maybe some of us knew out there that most prostitutes have husbands and BFs. I don't think that we knew that, and I don't know if we know that that's real. That's real news. I'm not sure it's true. General Shepard says that it is true. I'm willing to believe you, to be honest with you. All right, I'll take your word for it that it is true. However, if that is true, I just want to point out that that's kind of an insight into that marriage, and as we already all well know, right? I'm dropping a bomb on some of the ladies out there. Marriage is a sham, all right, and it's completely illegitimate at this point in time. All right, that's not to say that I'm not a fan of marriage. I believe that marriage is absolutely crucial. All right, and I mentioned before, and I'll mention it again, that on a personal level, I don't believe in and I don't plan to partake in any sort of relations outside of marriage, and for the most part, it's pretty much a guarantee that I'm never gonna get married ever again. And it's not to say like I'm emotionally charged off of it. I'm just saying, economically speaking, I can't afford that. Nor do I have a desire to get married to any sort of lady, dude. I have not met a lady out there who can contribute enough to where I'd be willing to take her on board. And at the same time, I can't even afford, you know what I'm saying, to be able to take care of a lady in that, and then, you know what I'm saying, to that extent. All right, so it's not even on my mind at all on a personal level. Now, there's people out there who they might be wanting to get a wife, or maybe might be wanting to smash Popeyes. I don't know. Whatever it is that they want to do, they're out there playing their own game. I can appreciate that. I respect that, and know that I can't stop that. Whatever y'all want to do out there, all right. But I want to say that that's kind of a microcosm. That's kind of an insight into the fact is that marriage is a joke, all right. No matter how much these little girls are growing up watching Disney and the Disney movies and stuff, and they think, "Oh, I'm a royal princess, and everybody needs to cater to me, and I gotta have things exactly my way." They're in for a world of hurt. All right, there's all sort of reality that's going to come crashing down upon them, and that, dude, marriage has been made completely illegitimate. in large part due to our laws here in America, and I'm sure all over the world, which make it basically impossible for a man to think that he stands a chance at benefiting from a marriage. That's not the case, not at all. All right. Long story short, legalize extortion. All right. And I'm not over here complaining. I want to stress that, dude. I do pay child support. All right. A pretty hefty amount every single month. All right. It pretty much guarantees that I'm going to stay in poverty unless I have two jobs. All right. I'm not complaining about it. That's what I gotta stress, dude. If I have to pay this child support, so be it, all right? Like, I've accepted that this is the bed that I made and I'm gonna lay in it. And if I had to pay it to my dying day, that is what it is. I don't care. I really don't care about it. But if you're to talk in general, it's just to let you know that it is extortion by definition. It is not benefiting children, and we've seen that. It's painfully obvious, right? Um, but we are talking about around the world, and I don't know exactly who has what various laws regarding marriage and this and that, alimony, child support, and whatever else. All right, but just to get a General Sheffer's input, and which I'm very interested in. He said, General Sheffer said, I could prove it. It's true that most prostitutes have a boyfriend or a husband, and I'll draw people's attention to and if I'm correct, it's a Hank Williams Jr. song. And I don't remember the title of it, but basically the summary of the song was where he's talking about that he has a girl and he'll take his girl to the bar and people will buy drinks for his lady and people will spend money on her and this and that, and at the end of the night Hank Williams Jr. goes home with that lady and forget you. And whatever money you spend, this and that, whatever, it was a trick on you, all right? Is to get your money and this and that, and he's gonna go home with the lady, all right? And so that might be the similar situation as far as prostitutes. Meanwhile, it's kind of a lose-lose situation or a win-win situation, depending on how you look at it. As far as the John or whatever, the customer, if you will, skeeted all over this lady and stuff, and you got to take her back. And yeah, she got all sort of money for it and stuff. Maybe that's the whole purpose, but then you gotta then that's yours. That's your wife, that's your girlfriend. Me personally, as much as I like making money, obviously, I would never dream of doing it if it was my wife or even slash girlfriend. Yeah, that wouldn't happen. But if your whole purpose is to get money, obviously, go ahead and do it. But at the same time, I don't know why exactly you would marry that particular lady, right? General Sheffer says marriage is legalized prostitution, and depending on which angle you look at it, see, marriage was never meant to be that, right? And I think everybody will agree. In a biblical sense, it's never meant to be that. However, it is exactly that at this point in time. If you take a look at our laws, it is exactly that. Legalized prostitution, and you better hope that your prostitute does not get mad at you and take you for more money than she's already getting. All right, and that's the situation that most males out there have to deal with right now. I'm not one of them. All right, because I'm not. I'm not gonna fall for that trick ever again, to be honest with you. But that was definitely, I appreciate that input. That was a very insightful note to put out there. It's one of those things, like I say, when I call for people to contribute out there, you might be hesitant. You might, you know what I'm saying? You might be like, well, maybe this isn't worthwhile to say up in the podcast. I bet you it is. I bet you it is, because General Sheffer right now, he's saying these things that I wasn't necessarily going to bring up, but it's definitely crucial, if not the most crucial topics to bring up right now. All right. I don't know that I brought up a topic that's more crucial than what General Sheffer did just right now, aka Bart Fine, aka the real Alex Jones. You know what I'm saying? That's how my contributors work. Like, I don't know if they have enough confidence. I try to remind them time and time again, like, y'all are bringing me that hot fire, and so when you raise your voices, I hear him, trust me, and I can't wait for you to do that. General Shepard says, I'm glad I'm divorced. I'm glad that you got it out of the way, all right? For those people out there who's young enough, I gotta stress that 70% of marriages are gonna end in divorce. Period. You might as well get it out of the way. In fact, you might as well dodge it altogether. At this point, as much as I'm a fan of babies and creating families and stuff like that, trust me, I am. That's what I promote. At the same time, the way that the laws are structured right now, you're walking into a minefield as far as marriage. If you're a man, period, and sometimes for some of these ladies, they also catch it. They also catch the wrath of the legal extortion that's taking place. Um, General Sheffield says he'll never marry again, and I'm sure there's a lot of people in that boat. Like I said, I'm one of those people. I mean, I'm not here to tell you what's the future. I couldn't tell you what God has in store for me, but right now, not at all. It's not even a prospect. I'm not thinking about it. You can't get me to think about it. As far as ladies out there, I know that there's more ladies on earth than there are men, right? I think that they've tabulated that up. So it's safe to say that there's so many ladies out there who, if they could get a man, all right, they would. And I'm talking about quality ladies out there, but they can't. The reason for that is because this system is so unbelievably messed up through our legal legislation that it's pretty much impossible. You might as well give it up. You might as well hang it up. And I know most people have already hung it up. They don't even consider it as a possibility. Right? That's where we gotten. And unless we completely reform, I'm talking about tear it apart and create a new format. Unless we do that, marriage is done for. It's pretty much out the window, right? They've taken the biblical sense of getting married and they've totally destroyed it, right? Because we're giving them the power to do so. General Shepard says most women fail the D stacking test, all right? And I don't know what that is, but I want to find out what that is. I've never heard that. Never heard of that before. General Shepard is taking over, dude. Like I say, anybody can become a co-host of this show and honestly take it over, right? And I'll let them do it. All right, General Shepard's doing it right now. He says most women fail the D-stacking test. Now I don't know what that is, but I'm very, very curious. I really want to know before this broadcast ends what that is. All right, stacking. I'm not sure that that's the actual word that he meant to put. All right, but let's go further into it. 6 foot off the ground for every sexual partner. What? Wait, 6 foot off the ground, a de-stacking test. Most women fail the de-stacking test. 6 foot off the ground for every sexual partner. We're gonna have to get some more details. I know that the details are coming out. We need those. We need them. What is the de-stacking test? Is that a typo or did you mean to say that? I want to find out what it is. I've never heard about that before. I want to find out. All right. Had what? Okay, 6 foot off the ground for every sexual partner she's had. 6 foot off the ground. What does that mean? All right. I know that it means something. I want to get to the bottom of it. A certain test to discuss as far as women. All right. While we're on the topic, a de-stacking test. A de-stacking. What does that even mean? Like if you stack the D's on top of each other, which should be 6 feet off the ground. Trust me, I don't know, but I want to know. All right. While we're on the topic, before we get out of here, I wanted to also bring up, and I know General Shepard knows exactly what I'm talking about, probably. It's a concept that was brought to my attention by Coach Red Pill. I'm sure it was brought up by different other various people. But it's a term that's called the 1,000D stare. The 1,000D stare. And that's kind of a play on words from an old phrase, the 1,000-yard stare, right? And for those of y'all familiar, a 1,000 yard stare is the look of a person who's just off in their own world, like they're not looking at what's in the room. When you look at it to their eyeballs, it looks like they're staying 1,000 yards ahead of them, even though there's nothing over there. They're off. There, you could tell by their eyes that they're just off in their own world. All right, it's the thing. It's called a 1,000 yard stare. All right, and it's turn of phrase, and a lot of people know about it now. So he had a play of words called the 1,000 D stare, and in that, when girls, and this is just unfortunate, but it's a natural thing. When women, unfortunately, and I've seen the results of this. Trust me, I've experienced it. When women get too many D's up in them, right? We're not going to say the word necessarily. You already see what we're talking about. When they get too many D's up in them, at a certain point, they incorporate their. It just happens in their eyes that they'll get this 1,000 D stare, and I'm here to tell you that's a real thing. I promise you, right? They have a certain sort of look in their eyes, and the way that Coach Red Pill describes it, and I would agree, is a certain glassy-eyed look. Right? There's a certain glaze over their eyes that once you become more familiar with it, you're gonna recognize it pretty much immediately. A 1,000 D stare. That is to say, like if you see a girl at the bar, and you're talking to her, or whatever, and she has that 1,000 D stare. You already know that it's pretty much in the bag. That you take this girl home and do whatever you want with her. All right. You already know that it's a guarantee, for better or for worse. So like I'm not in that world anymore, nor would I want to even have part of that. But I'm just here to say you can recognize it if you've seen it enough. All right, that 1,000 D stare, and I'm gonna bring that up. And then that General Chef is talking about that the destacking test, which I'm not sure what that means. Still, I think I'm gonna need you to elaborate a little bit more. All right, so we're gonna end on that note. I want to hear the elaboration a little bit more before we get out of here, but also we are looking at Manuel Oliver, all right, which is on a totally different topic. I want to discuss that real briefly. Manuel Oliver, unfortunately, I've had the privilege of following him loosely because, of course, he's tied into Parkland, that whole deal. And so his face is a face that you're unfortunately going to see over and over and over and over and over and over and over while studying the whole Parkland situation. It's very unfortunate, but I've seen his face more times than I care to mention. Manuel Oliver, let me read the headline. It says, Parkland father takes on grief and gun violence in a one-man play. Now, that headline by itself might not seem so over the top, but if you have followed Manuel Oliver, if you know how to Google him and find the news and the headlines that are regarding Manuel Oliver, it's not going to take you that long at all to figure out. I don't care if your son did get murdered, all right, or didn't get murdered. All right, let's assume he did get murdered. All right, that's very unfortunate, and trust me, you got my respect over that. I mean, I wouldn't want anybody's child to get murdered. Trust me, people's children get murdered a lot. Um, regardless, no matter what happened, Manuel Oliver is completely, absolutely insane. He's psychopathic. He's the definition of a psychopath. Period. And I don't say that lightly. Like, I'm not out here calling every single person, every Tom, Dick, and Harry, and everybody who I disagree with a psychopath. I guarantee you, and I put it on everything that I love, Manuel Oliver is the definition of a psychopath. Out here just running roughshod, dude. Just running amok, doing whatever he can possibly, whatever perverse, disgusting, perverted thing that he can do and can even conjure up in his disgusting imagination. He's doing he's doing it at max speed, right? He is absolutely a psychopath. He is on Ed Buck level, period, point blank, period, dude. I'm so disgusted by this. Like I said, total respect if your child got murdered and stuff like that. I'm not trying to make light of that. I'm saying, regardless of what happened, you're a damn psychopath. Everything you've done is so disgusting that I can't even hardly believe it. Everything you've done, from the statues that you've made that are just perverse, that little operation game that you invented in which, it's just perverse. You go around wearing your son's face as a mask. That's that's freaking perverse, dude. You are a psychopath. If nobody in the world is a psychopath, then you are. All right. If you're the only person in the world, I guarantee Manuel Oliver is the most psychopathic person I have ever heard of in my life. All right. And I mean, just think about it. Like, imagine you had a child that died and stuff. Okay, especially in a tragic situation like this. Yeah, you'd be filled with all sort of, I don't know what you call it, regret, remorse. You'd be all like, oh man, you think about it. You think about it every day until you die, and I'm sure of it. I can't put that past you. But to be carrying on in such a damn way, to be putting, like, could you imagine you had a dead son and you're putting that son's face, a mask on your face, and parading around every freaking day and making statues, perverse statues of children hiding up under desks and stuff like this, and you're out here doing the most disgusting possible things on a daily basis in memory of your son. Who who out there is so psychopathic that they would do this constantly? And meanwhile, the news just plays it. They're like, "Oh yeah, this is completely regular. This is a concerned father, and he's just doing his due diligence in order to keep the memory." He is a psychopath if I ever seen one. He needs to be locked up, dude. I know that there's not a law, but I'm just saying, dude. If you ever see Manuel Oliver, and walking down the sidewalk, hide your kids, hide your wife, hide your husbands, because this man is a damn dirty psychopath, dude. And I'll put that on everything. All right. And I want to end on that note. All right, we're gonna find out probably next broadcast what is destacking. What's the destacking test? I'm very curious. What exactly is that? I know that he was mentioned 6 foot off the ground for every sexual partner. I'm not sure what that means. All right, but we're gonna get down to the nitty gritty of it. All right, we're gonna get down to the bottom of it. As far as tomorrow, we're gonna have a much more professional situation as far as tomorrow's broadcast. So look forward to it. And I mean, you know what I'm saying? Lord willing, we're gonna be here around 8-ish, 9-ish Central Standard Time, right? And anyways, I appreciate all y'all out there, man. Y'all don't even understand, all right? And so I'll see y'all next time. I hope y'all have a wonderful Sunday evening and stuff like that. We're all up in the tribulation, right? This is deadly serious. There is a civil war going on. Whether or not people want to admit it is regardless. But at the same time, I want to stress that there's salvation to be had. Right? There's peace to be had not only after life, but in this life. Right, and you're going to attain this peace through our older brother, and I know it's controversial, Jesus. He's the Son of God. Are you a child of God? It's a real question. You don't have to answer me. Don't worry. It's a rhetorical question. But I'm asking you, are you a child of God? I'm not here. I'm not out here to say, oh, you're a preacher and you do everything. Oh, it's spotless and perfect. Oh, this and that, and you're carrying on, and you want everybody to believe you're perfect. All right. Are you a child of God? I don't want you to answer that. Like I said, it's rhetorical. But if you are, then Jesus, he's the Son of God, right? All right. So that would make him your older brother. Okay. And so he set the example, he set the standard. All right. He's not going to coddle you. He's not going to give you mama's love. He's not going to make you, oh, like you're just going to feel so special forever and ever. But he's going to give you the strength to carry on. He's your example. He's your older brother. All right. He's going to give you the strength to carry on in your pursuit to find the truth, to expose those who are out there existing off of lies and surviving off of lies and thriving off of them. He's going to give you the strength to make that decision one day that you're gonna have to make. That it's gonna be posed to you, and I don't mean hypothetically. It's going to be posed to you one day in your lifetime. That decision that you'll have to make. He's gonna give you the strength to make that decision. He's gonna give you the peace in your heart and your mind in order to make that decision. Right? I just want to close that on that note, and I appreciate everybody out there. And I don't care what your religion is and stuff like that. I don't care what skin color you is. That stuff is very retarded, right? I'm not here talking about that. I'm talking about, are you a child of God, right? It's none of my business, but are you? All right. I'll holler at y'all later. It's November the 17th, 2019.